I want to look at Genesis chapter 37. And his lesson's kind of inspired by the lesson that Brother Henson taught a couple of weeks ago about Joseph. And I went back as his, according to his advisement, and I went and looked at the story. And one thing that kind of stuck out to me, and the title of the lesson for this Bible class is will you complain or campaign for Christ? That's the title. Will you campaign or will you complain or campaign for Christ? And when you look at this, this story, or the story of Joseph, and I was just kind of thinking, like, you know, in life, you have a lot of you have a lot of things that come your way. You make a lot of plans, and you have things or imaginations in your mind as far as how you foresee your life going out or whatever. You know, and you have ideas of how you think your life will go as life progresses and things of that nature. But a lot of times you have twists and turns that come that you have no control over. You know, and so and I was just thinking about, like, in life, people, you know, you can look at life two ways. Either you can, like, look at it in a negative way and complain, which a lot of people choose to do, or you can look at the blessings that you've received and consider yourself blessed. Yeah, Genesis 37. Genesis 37. And you know, and that makes or breaks the difference as far as the quality of life that you live. Because you're going to live regardless. The days that you have numbered on the earth are already numbered. God already knows how long you're going to live on the earth regardless. You see what I'm saying? And so, and good and bad happens to everybody. It don't matter whether you're a Christian or not. We always talk about that. And that's just the truth. It don't matter what your religious beliefs are. You're going to have challenges, good or bad, that's going to happen to you. And so it comes down to, as far as your quality of life while you're here on earth, how you view your life. Whether you look at all the negative in your life and just complain and be like, man, woe is me, and like, my life is terrible, or you look beyond the negative stuff and look at the positives and consider yourself blessed by God and be grateful. You see what I'm saying? It's just a matter of perception at that point. And so when I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about Joseph, I was thinking, like, there's no better example of that than Joseph. I mean, when you really think about Joseph's life, most people think about Joseph and think about the dream he had. He got thrown in the hole. He got sold. He was in Egypt. He was second in command. Like, we used to talk about, name one thing about Joseph, and people like, he had a coat of many colors. That's probably the first thing that somebody would say. Coat of many colors. He was, he had a dream. He was able to tell Pharaoh his dream, that kind of thing. But when you actually kind of sit and look at Joseph's life, Joseph could have really been a big complainer. There's a lot of things that Joseph, if he wanted to, I mean, like, from perception, anyway, he could have complained quite a bit. You know what I mean? Now, we look at Joseph, we consider him a righteous man, and we look up to him as far as his faith, but his story could have been totally different, in the sense of, he could have been like, woe is me, and like really had a legitimate, in a sense, I'll use quotations, air quotes, legitimate complaint, you know what I mean, as far as the quality of life that he lived and the way that things happened to him and all that kind of, and all that thing. So we can really learn from that and not be so negative and not complain so much about any little thing that goes wrong in your life, and really consider, and like really have to take a step back and consider how blessed you are, how the quality of life that you've been blessed to have. So with that being said, Genesis chapter 37, we can start at verse 3. He says, now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceably unto him. So like I said, right here off the bat, now Joseph, we gonna read a couple things here, and a lot of the stuff that happened to Joseph is not Joseph's fault. Matter of fact, all the stuff that happened to Joseph is not his fault. He didn't do anything directly that caused something bad to happen to him. You know what I mean? He wasn't talking trash to his brothers, or he wasn't like, he didn't do anything to provoke the stuff that came his way. So that right off the top, most of the time in people's lives, like when something bad happens to you, and especially if you didn't do anything wrong, you automatically be like, life is terrible, and like people tripping, everybody hating on me, and like, you go into this negative mindset. You know what I mean? But like, we learn from Joseph, like, that's not the way that you should think. So his dad, like I said, his brother's disdain for him had nothing to do with Joseph in and of himself. It really had to do with their envy of him and his father's favoritism toward him, and they were jealous. You know what I mean? Whether they were rightfully so, as far as, you know, how he treated them and all that kind of jazz, like, that's another lesson. But, you know, he shouldn't have shown favoritism for that purpose. There was no reason for that in that sense. But anyway, he says he dreamed a dream in verse 5. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto him, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose and also stood upright, and behold, your sheaves stood round about and made obeisance to my sheaf. And his brother said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us? And shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it to his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren. And his father rebuked him and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to the earth? And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the same. You know, and so, like I said, he had this dream, and that made them hate him even more. Like I said, he didn't. The Bible doesn't say that he was trying to be boastful in telling his dream, or he trying to, like, you know, show he bad and his brothers are nothing, and vaunt himself over his brothers. That wasn't the case. He just had a dream he just shared, and they hated him even more, not because of him, but just because of the circumstance that their family setup is. Like I said, they jealous of him. So it don't matter what he do. It don't matter whether he do right or wrong. They just don't like him. And so you have to think about that. When you take the time to kind of think about that, like, this is his family. That's his kinfolk, his brothers. He hasn't done anything wrong, but yet his brothers hate him. Like, they don't like him. And if you think about growing up in a house like that, in a family like that, you want your brothers to love you. That's natural. You want your family to, like, care about you. It's a natural thing. A lot of people come from broken homes and broken situations, and they carry those things with them their whole life. You know what I mean? Like, you know, my daddy loved my brother more than me. That kind of stuff. You hear grown people, like, and I'm not downplaying it. Like, it's like people. That's something that you have to get over. You know what I mean? You have to kind of, like, move past in life. But people hold on to those feelings. It hurts. Like, my sister never loved me. My brother didn't like me. My mama liked my brother more than me. And, like, this happened when you were, you know, 4 or 5 years old with snot in your nose, and you grow up with gray hair, and you still have that pain. You know what I mean? And so when you think about Joseph hasn't done anything wrong, but yet and still his brothers don't like him. They said they couldn't speak peaceably to him. So it was always an issue. It was always a problem. And, like, no matter what he did, he just told them, hey, man, share the dream I had. And they like, you da 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 da. You know? And so he could have held on to that. But when you read about Joseph, we ain't gonna, like, read everything. But when you read about Joseph is never bitter. You never see bitterness in Joseph. You never see him, like I said, complaining. You never see him, like, being angry or being, you know, showing disdain or treating people funny or having attitude. You don't see that, because at the end of the day, Joseph's relationship with God is strong. His faith in God is strong. That's what he focuses on, is that God's goodness, God's blessings toward him. That's his mindset, instead of all the negative stuff that happens to him. Even though, like I said, people legitimately, like, have feelings about this, and Joseph could have been easily one of those people, but he decided, or he didn't take on that mentality. Questions, comments?
Let me have another comment, and just a quick comment. He's not in control of what he dream about. I mean, a lot of us have dreams. We can fall off of buildings and stuff at night, screaming out. We can't control that. So how could they blame him for his, for the dream that he had? He just told it to him. It's a dream I had. I ain't in control of it. So you know that they understand what they're doing because they have dreams. You can blame yourself about having a dream.
And like I said, and they understood his dream. But like I said, and that's why I thought this lesson was so powerful. Is because, like I said, you have sometimes people messy. You know what I mean? Sometimes people are messy. Sometimes people don't like their siblings, and let's just be real, because they're hard to get along with. They bring trouble. You know what I mean? Sometimes you born in a house with a cat, and you can't hang with, so and so, because he getting into trouble. You know what I mean? He or she, like, trouble finding. They always in the middle of something. They talking crazy. Somebody, y'all out somewhere just chilling. They want to run off at the mouth. And now y'all, everybody on the ground rolling. You know what I mean? It's like, I ain't gonna hang with him no more. Even though your brother or your sister, they stab you in the back, conniving. You know what I mean? Not loyal. That, like, they born in your family, but that don't mean they're nice people. You know? I mean, that's just real talk. But Joseph isn't doing any of these things. They're just jealous of him. So drop down to verse 18. It says, so the father told him to go find his brothers, give them the message. Verse 18, and when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. So their hate for him was so strong, they wanted to kill him. You know, and they said one to another, behold, this dreamer cometh. Now come now therefore, and let us slay him and cast him into some pit, and we will say some evil beast hath devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams. And Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands, and said, let us not kill him. And Reuben said unto him, shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands, to deliver him to his father again. And so, like I said, their anger, hate for him was so strong that they devised a plan they were going to kill him. I mean, until his father, hey man, beast got him. You know, he got killed. You know, and when you, like I said, when you think about this, Joseph has no idea this is going on. And when you're reading the Bible, you have to keep these things in mind. These are real people, and the Bible gives us a behind-the-scenes look as far as the mentalities of all these people that are involved. But the people involved can't read minds. So Joseph is just going to do what his daddy told him to do. But he see his brothers afar off, so he running to go meet them and tell them, give them the message or find out, check on what they're doing. But he has no idea in the distance. My brother's way over there, and I see them. I'm coming to him. He has no idea that they thinking we're gonna kill him. We're gonna kill him. You see what I'm saying? And that's crazy that your own brothers and sisters, your own flesh and blood, are finna try to kill you, and you ain't done nothing to them. They just don't like you like that. You know, that's crazy. Sister Hamilton.
I usually use my Bible app, but I don't have it on my phone. I just remember the scripture, but it talks about envying one another and laying aside those things, you know, just in the congregation, not being jealous and stuff of one another. And it just made me think of that when you were talking about the brothers, because look at the road that envy and jealousy is leading them down, you know, and it's like it's a never-ending thing until it's done. You know, you just keep going. Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, envy is a terrible thing because it consumes you. You're the one that has it, but it consumes you. You know what I mean? It have you doing crazy, strange things, and it's because it's something about yourself. It really stems from self-hate. You know what I mean? Like when you envy somebody else, it's because it's something that you lack. That it makes you feel a certain way about yourself because they have something that you don't. You don't. You see what I'm saying? And that's a really sad, crazy thing. I mean, especially when everybody has their own gifts, everybody has their own abilities, everybody has their own value. You know what I mean? So you get me started talking about something else. We've had this conversation before as far as like everybody is born with innate ability, like natural ability. They're born with it, skills, whatever, you know, that you naturally have. Some people can talk well, some people are real good with their hands, they craft stuff real good. Some people athletic, some people whatever. Certain things in society are glorified more than others, but that don't make it any more valuable. You know what I mean? And so a lot of times people want to be able to do the things that people glorify in the world, and they overlook the things that they naturally are, their natural gifts that they already have. And so they envy somebody else, but they don't understand, like, it's all about balance in the world. Like, it's something that you're good at that the next person may not be good at. And it's okay for you to be happy in the gift that you have, whatever that may be. You know what I mean? Like, I use an example, and you totally taking me off the lesson. It's okay. I use an example a lot of times with my kids and my family about a garbage man. It's probably one of the most despised occupations as far as, like, you're gonna be a garbage man. You know, you pick up trash. But I tell them all the time, every role is important, and it should be appreciated. Because at the end of the day, even if you don't want to do it, you don't do it or don't want to do it, it's something that needs to get done. And if you overlook it and nobody else do it, then either A, you're going to have to do it, or B, it's going to be a major problem in the world. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so just because it's something that people despise and look down on, you should never do that. Because every skill is important. Every job is important. And so you have to, and you should show appreciation for whoever it is or whatever it is that they do. You know? And so like you may be able to do, like I said, you may be able to be an architect and imagine this big structure and this place is going to put together and how it's going to work and blah, 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 blah. But if you don't have the manpower or the strength to put it together, then you still need somebody that can work with their hands and get it done. You got the imagination. You still need somebody that's strong enough that can make it happen. You see what I'm saying? So you can't say one is better than the other. You need both. You know what I mean? You need somebody who's going to be able to maintain that building. That's another skill. You need like all those things. So you can't look at the architect and be like, oh man, he's so brilliant and blah, 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 blah. Like he's the greatest. Because he can't get it done without the man that know how to work with his hands. You know what I mean? And once it's done, they can't work without the guy that actually clean the building and keep it up because it's going to fall apart. You know what I mean? So each person has their role, has their job, has their ability, and each person should be appreciated for what they bring to the table. Now, you talking about envy, and that's just we coming on a bit of a tangent, but that's how it works. You can't look at another person, what they're capable of, what they do, what kind of glory they receive, or whatever, and overlook the natural blessings that God has already blessed you with, because everything ultimately is important, and you have to understand about yourself. What you have, what ability you have, what gift or strength or skill that you have is equally important, and you have to understand that first about yourself before you can never expect anybody else to appreciate what you bring to the table. So, yes, that's my one tangent for today. I hope.
No, I was just thinking about looking at on social media, because I see a lot of people and they talk about depression, and I was just thinking, because I thought about this before, that through God's word, and I was thinking that like a lot of times depression, you could bring depression on yourself, because sin has a very depressing repercussion, even repentance, because you think about Judas, how he killed himself because he was guilty of what he did. And sometimes like lust and envy, like it puts you in a very like very dark place. It's like because you're always constantly thinking about the other person, and you can't never really focus on yourself and your self growth because you're worried about somebody else. And that's how God's word brings us peace, because you can worry about yourself and worry about how you can enhance yourself both physically and spiritually, because God is the God of aloe vera and the God of spiritually, like keeping his commands so that we can grow. And one thing that God put on your heart to share with me was God doesn't need us, we need God. And so this not being lustful, not being envious is for us, not him, because he don't need us. Not that he's vauntful, it's just he just doesn't.
Indeed.
Amen.
Indeed. Very true. And so looking back at Genesis 37, God bless you, sister. Looking at verse 23. So like I said, Joseph is going to meet his brothers. He sees them, he going toward them, whatever, going to go meet up with them. And they see him coming, and they thinking, let's kill him. That's their thought process. He don't know this, he just walking up, And so verse 23 says, and it came to pass when Joseph was coming to his brethren, that they stripped Joseph out of his coat of many colors that was on him, and they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty, and there was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread, and lifted up their eyes, and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead with their camels bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. And Judah said unto his brethren, what profit is that we slay our brother and conceal his brother? Well, we gonna get out of that. He says, come and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh. And his brethren were content. Then there passed by Midianite merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. And they brought Joseph to Egypt. And so when you think about that, like, you have to really kind of take a step back and kind of really think about what just happened. Like, he walks up, hey, you know, Dad said, they grab him, they take his coat off of him, they throw him in a pit, a hole, and he fall down. That hurt. It ain't like just like, oh, I'm down here. Like, it hurts to get thrown down, and you trying to figure out when the world just happened, because it's 11 against 1, well, 10 against 1, because Reuben's not involved. So they just jacked him up, jumped him, and threw him into a pit to leave him. They gonna leave him down there for a while. Then they go up there and they eating. So you down in the pit, you hit him up there laughing, having a good time, and like, your brothers just assaulted you and threw you in a hole, presumably to leave you for dead. You have to think about the psychological damage that does on a person. You know what I mean? That level of betrayal. You know what I mean? And like, let's just be real. Like I said before, like earlier, these are the kind of things that leave lasting emotional scars on people. Like, and it alters the way that you think about the world. It alters the way you think, you interact with other people, the trust that you're willing to show other people, all that kind of stuff, because of something that tragically happened to you when you was a kid. You know. And so for the people you're supposed to be closest to in the world, your brothers, it's your flesh and blood, they grab you, jump you, and throw you in a hole and leave you down there, and they up there eating bread, and you down there just, you got time to kind of process what's going on, and you feel extremely betrayed, and that's messed up, man. That's messed up, you know. And so then you hear them having this conversation, man, let's not kill him. So now it's come to plan like they were planning on killing me. What? That's crazy. You know what I mean? Well, let's just sell him. Okay, yeah, we ain't gonna kill him. He is our brother after all. Yeah, you right. All right. So they pull him out. They make a deal. Hey man, we got this guy. We'll sell him to you, 20 pieces of silver. Okay, you don't know if they haggled. You don't know what the situation was. Yeah, man. All right, deal. Okay. They pull him out of the hole and they give him to complete strangers, and the people leave off with you. That's like if you gotta wrap your mind around that, that's crazy. I mean, it's not really funny. It's crazy. Like, and so you're riding in the back of this thing. I'm not sure if they bind you. I would assume that they would, because they don't want you trying to run off. Because they did just buy you against your will. You know, you weren't a slave. You were their brother. And I'm not sure what was all communicated, but like, they got you now. You're their property. So you left home because your daddy told you to look for your brothers, and by the time you get there, you become somebody else's property. They riding you to another country. That's crazy. You know what I mean? And so you have time to sit and think for a while you bound or whatever. Like, they just sold me. like my brothers just sold me. Yeah, like property. Like they sold me for 20, like for some money. And now you don't know where you're going, because now the story tells us they going to Egypt, but he don't know where they're going, and I'm not sure if he speaks their language. I don't know none of that. So it's like these cats just. Like we hear about human trafficking now. You know what I mean? Like they take these people from these foreign places or whatever, and they, you know, whatever, and they sell them to this person. They use them for domestic work or more devious things. You don't know what they're gonna do. Like, you have no idea what they're gonna do to you. You don't have no idea where you're going. You know nothing. So that's why I came with the lesson, and the point of the lesson is, will you complain or campaign? You see what I'm saying? Because and like we look at this story. Like I said, when you think of Joseph, you don't think of all the trauma that he had in his life. You don't really, I don't think that people really, it's not one of the things that process when you think about Joseph. You think about Joseph, oh, like I said, coat of many colors. You know, he interpreted Pharaoh's dream. Potiphar's wife, maybe you think about, he ran. He didn't mess with her. You know, he's a good guy. You know, God blessed him. You know what I mean? Maybe the story when he get his brothers returned back, 7 cows of famine and the 7 fat cows. That kind of thing. You think about those things, but you don't really think about the emotional damage and trauma that Joseph went through in his life. You know what I mean? And I want to try to make it as real as possible. And when I read it, I think about it from that perspective, because everybody got stuff that happened to them. Some on different degrees, depending on, you know, like I said, you know, everybody got different degrees of stuff that happened in this area, that area of life. But everybody got something they can say, man, this was crazy that happened to me this time or that time. You know, have deep, dark family secrets that be going down that cats don't really talk about. You know, family don't ever really talk about it. That kind of stuff. You know, I don't want to get into that, but it's stuff that be going on, and like And that happens in everybody's life. In some shape, form, or fashion, it's stuff that be going down. And people wish they could forget about it. And like I said, people act like they forgot about it. People don't talk about it, whatever. You know what I mean? But that's real life. And people, and a lot of times you wonder why people are so bitter. And like you meet people that like be like real nasty attitude, terrible attitude, just terrible, difficult to deal with, real prickly, can't talk to you. Like, man, that boy crazy. That girl, she out of control. You know, but typically it's some stuff that has happened that make them that way. You know what I mean? Like, they got that bad attitude because they bitter, they sad, they have depression, whatever. And it's stuff that happen that lead them to that, that get them to that mentality. A lot of times, most of the times. And so, with Joseph though, he could easily be one of those people. Because like I say, you think about all the stuff that happened to Joseph, and like, and this is just one story. You got two more that I was going to read, and we may not get to all of them, but we'll kind of summarize them. If you read the story, you know where we're going. Like that's just one. And that one is enough to make a cat really be kind of twisted in his head. You know what I mean? And so, and like I said, when you read this and read it in its context and really understand the situation, it makes the lesson that Brother Henson taught a couple of weeks ago even more powerful. The fact that when he saw his brothers, he didn't decide to kill them. You know what I mean? Or like do them dirty. Because this is 30 years ago, but now you seen your brothers again, and now I'm the second guy in command, the most powerful nation on earth. I could easily do whatever I want to do with him. Ain't nobody gonna say nothing. It's just what it is, you know. But he decided to show mercy and be like, he was happy to see them. But you ask a lot of people in similar situations, and they write their family off. Like, man, I hate, like, if I saw him, I'd kill that blank right now. You know what I mean? And that's just real talk. Yeah, that's just real talk. So, you know what I mean? Anyway, so dropping down to verse 36, it says, the Midianites sold him into Egypt unto Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, and a captain of the guard. So once they got to Egypt, they traveled, and it take a long time to travel. This ain't just like, no, we gonna take a 30-minute drive up the street. Like, they on camels and they got a whole bunch of stuff with them, so it take a little while to get this. He had a lot of time to think, and they finally get there, and then they sell him again. They flipped him, like cats flip houses and property. You know what I mean? Yeah, whether they flipped him, yeah, and it's you know, it's like comical, but when you think about, like I said, I'm really trying to drive home the psychological part of this. So you got sold by your family. They sold you for 20 pieces to some complete strangers. They walk off with you. You gone. Like, you don't know where you in the back of a cabin or whatever. They just ride with you or whatever. And then they finally get to the destination where they going, Egypt. I'm not sure if you ever been there before or whatever. And then they flip you again. Like, oh, hey man, I got this new, hey man, young. You know, he got to get a lot of work in, kind of cute fella. And you don't know what they selling you for. You know what I mean? Like, let's just be real. It'd be stuff that be going on in the world. So like I said, Joseph, a decent looking fella, young. And there's some people that's kind of twisted in the world. So they don't know, and they don't care what you buying them for. You know what I mean? And they don't care, like, well, make sure you treat them right though. They don't care about that. They flipping you. They finna make some money off of you. That's what it is. Your property. So he sold again to another cat, and they like, okay, we take him home. That's just what it is. So it's like, now you think about from a psychological perspective, and that now it lowers your value as a human being, because now you're being treated like straight property. You know what I mean? Like, you ain't even been treated like a human being at this point. Like, because you weren't a slave. Joseph is not a slave. He's a son in his father's house. When they capture him and he's betrayed by his own brothers and treated like a slave, now all of a sudden he's become a slave. So he doesn't have a slave's mentality. He ain't thinking like servant, like, okay, you know, your servant just go to whoever master house you and you work. That's what you do. That's your job. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a house servant, you understand that concept. You come in, okay, what we need to do, okay, you put on your uniform and you go to work. And while everybody else sitting around watching TV and eating at the table and they laughing and having a good time, you at work cleaning up the couch, whatever, washing dishes. That's your job, because you have that mentality. You understand that. But if you don't understand that, then that's offensive. If everybody else, and they dropping food on the ground, you got to go clean it. They expect you to go clean it up. You follow what I'm saying? It's about the mentality. If you have a slave's or a servant's mentality, then you can accept that role and you can kind of go to work and do what you need to do. But if you don't have that mentality, if you're not born into that, if you don't have that mindset, then it's a whole nother ball game. You know what I mean? like, when you're a worker, now I'll say this real quick and I'll move on. When you're a worker, you understand the concept. You go to work, you clock in, and you work. Your supervisor may talk to you crazy, but that's just what it is. You go to work, and that's a part of the deal. You go to work and you clock out and you go home, and it is what it is. But people, if you're accustomed to having your own business, you're not accustomed to working with other people, and then somebody come in, hey, and you all of a sudden you find yourself on this job and catch telling you, what the fuck are you doing? Get up and get da 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 da. You like, whoa, 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 whoa. You're not going to talk to me X, Y, and Z because you're not used to that. But when you're used to that, then you understand this is a part of the deal. You can deal with it and you can move on because that's just a part of what you deal with. And that's what I'm saying with Joseph. Joseph does not have the mentality of a slave or a servant. He wasn't born into that. And it's all of a sudden, boom, now all of a sudden, you're expected to go and do whatever this man tell you to do. And I don't know if you understand his language or whatever, but like, he ain't buy you just to be like, treat you nice and be like, hey, come on, my son, and like baby you. He bought you to accomplish a certain task he gonna have for you, and that's what it is. If you don't, either they gonna kill you or sell you again or whatever. Like, we ain't buying you to be our son. We're buying you to be a servant, a slave. That's it. We don't know you. We don't know you got dreams. We don't know your day. We don't know you're well beloved by your father, and like, oh, you're the son of his old age. Like, we don't know or care about any of that. We just want you to get the job done. That's it. So, like I said, he comes from a place where he's highly beloved by his father to a place where he just got a number or whatever, and like, he got to be able to cope with that mentally. That's tough.
Yeah, that's good points. Bringing a lot of thoughts out. But you think about when we try to preach to ourselves and to others that you have to have faith. Yeah. And so his main focus, his whole world was around knowing who Jesus was, knowing who God was. Amen. Because he could have just lived the life he wanted to live. And I remember when he found his brother and after they had embraced and cried and he said, don't feel that you did something wrong. He said, God, what you did, God took it and made it for good. Amen. And so, he didn't have that type of feeling that some of us would when we look at his life and everything he did. He was a righteous man through his whole life. Amen. And he didn't change and start to be crooked and start to do undercutting stuff. He always maintained his integrity as a faithful saint out through it all. I don't see it. I don't see his reading. Now, if somebody made a movie about this, is a movie. This is a script right here. That's right. Take Hollywood. Don't let Hollywood make it because they gonna mess it up. You don't. You just write it. You like this and put somebody in the role because this would inspire people to understand and be right. But they'll mess that up. But this is actually a very inspiring story about a man who could have went off the deep end in all kinds of ways. But you're showing all the highlights of how he didn't at all. I didn't see it anyway. Amen.
Amen. And amen, brother. That is the point of the lesson. Because see, a lot of times we look at Jesus and we say, well, Jesus is the Son of God. So a lot of times people don't look at Jesus as a viable example, even though you should. They say, oh, you're supposed to. You say, well, Jesus is the Son of God. He came from heaven. He has miracles. He can do miracles. He can read people's minds. Like, we can't do those things. So like, he's the destined Lamb of God. So it's not really quite the same, But Joseph is a regular dude. Like, he ain't no supernatural power. He ain't healing nobody. He ain't done nothing besides tell a dream that God gave an interpretation of. That's it. Mm-hmm. Other than that, like, he's a kid that gets sold out by his family. Like, that's basically. But Henson hit the nail on the head. That's the whole point of the lesson, is that he never complains about his life. He never allows the circumstance of his life to cause him to be bitter. He always stays focused on just being grateful to God. Because, like I said, at the end of the day, he says, God, you all meant it for bad, but God meant it for good. You see what I'm saying? And he understood that. It's not just like a cute thing to say, like a cute little saying. Like, I know you meant it for good, but God. You know what I mean? Everybody like, whatever. Like, he meant that. Yes. He understood that. Mm-hmm. And we have to take on that same mentality. Like, no matter how old you are, no matter how, whatever you go through in life, like, God has your steps ordered. And so you have to understand that you have to be able to go through the difficult times in order to be able to campaign. That's why I say campaign for Christ. You have to be able to, like, glorify God in order for you to do it, you have to be able to get over the negative stuff. You know what I mean? Like, if your life is all roses, then you can't relate to nobody. Can't nobody take you seriously, or your life serious for that matter, or your testimony is that serious. If you ain't never done nothing, or you ain't never been through nothing, you ain't no difficult times. It's only when they see you overcome something, they say, man, wow, that's powerful, that's impressive. You know what I mean? Wow, you're able to do this, man. That's, you know, and that glorifies God. You know, but if your life is all roses the whole day through, you're like, me and you and me. Yeah, that's just how that's how you roll your whole life through. Then like, cats gonna be like, well, I mean, you know, the reason why you that way is because you ain't had nothing. Like, my life is perfect. You know what I mean? But nobody's life is perfect. That's the whole point of the lesson. So looking at 39, we're gonna start kind of find a landing spot here. You know the story of Joseph and Potiphar. You know, he's trusted. And so the one thing that you see constantly in this lesson, and that I find to be really, really powerful, and I don't ever want to overlook, is that verse 3, he says, and his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer over his house, and all that he had he put into his hand. Like I said, forget movies. We've all known people that have been through traumatic situations and how they turn out. You know what I mean? Like, you be like, man, if you know them personally, like I said, you be like, man, yeah, he had a rough childhood. She had a lot of stuff happen to her when she was young. You know what I mean? So somebody else be like, man, what's wrong with that person? They crazy. They so mean. They this, that, and the other. And if you know them for real, you know where they come. You're like, yeah, they have a lot of stuff going on right now. You know what I mean? Like, you know people that's going through stuff, and they start to get a little surly, a little edgy, and somebody be like, man, that boy crazy. Like, man, you know, he got a lot of stuff going on right now. Like, for real, he got a lot on his plate right now. Because you understand all that pressure start mounting, and it causes people to act out. You know what I mean? But we have to make sure that we don't do that. You know what I mean? Like, because see, Joseph is an example. Like, and he's a young man. He ain't like no old sage where like I've been through life, so I understand these things. Like, he's young. You know what I mean? Like he could easily become just a wild man. You know what I mean? But like, he didn't. He still understood to conduct himself in the way that God had him to conduct himself, and as a result, he found grace and favor in his master's sight. Right. Like he said, he could have just been a wild man and like acted a fool, and like, man, every time what's his name go to sleep, I try to kill him and run away. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, and he's unruly, like an unruly horse or something like that. You know, but it's like he understood where he was at, what the situation was. You know what I mean? Like, and he served his master. You know what I mean? And he found grace in his master's sight. And he promoted him. He said, man, he put everything in his hand because he saw that God was with him. And it wasn't because he had some type of like supernatural glasses that he put on, be like, oh, God is with him. Like, it's because in his actions he could see, and God is with him. You know what I mean? Like, the way he conducts himself, the way that what he does prospers, and God is with him. I'm gonna promote him. But the only reason why God be with him is because he does righteous, because he has faith. Like, God wouldn't be with him if that wasn't the case. You know? And so we can really learn from that. Like, even with all the crazy stuff that happened to him, he still had faith in God, and he showed it in his life. It wasn't just he say he believed in God. He lived it. He never became bitter and like aggressive and like act out. He stayed within his place. He understood where he was now, and he lived according to the way that God wanted him to live in that particular circumstance. You know what I mean? And God blessed him. You know, and that's the balance, or the weight and counterweight that you have to always keep in mind when you're dealing with Joseph. And I hope and I pray that from this point forward, whenever you read about Joseph, you keep this lesson in mind, is that as much as Joseph had a crazy life, but he always stayed focused, and God always brought him into balance. God always lifted him up whenever he was brought down, because he had faith. He believed. You know what I mean? He never stopped believing, and he didn't do these things knowing that God was going to promote him to this level or that level. He just did it because he believed and trusted God. That's it. And God was with him. And so it all depends on the mentality that you have in life. You see what I'm saying? We live in a very negative society. a society full of complainers. Like, people complain about everything and anything. Like, it don't matter. Like, I went to the McDonald's and they put lettuce on my sandwich, and I said no. I said no lettuce. You gotta go berserk. Like, you just pull it off. It's not that big of it. You can pull it off, but like, you know, it's the same burger. You know what I mean? Like, but instead you can say, man, okay, pull off the lettuce. I'm thankful for this meal that I have. You see what I'm saying? Like, okay, I don't like lettuce, cool. But like a person will flip, and like they'll be mad for like an hour or two, like over. They'll get home and like complain to their whole family, like like that's their highlight of the day. They wake up the next morning sometime and be like, lettuce, you know, burger. Upset, like, and they hold it, and it's like, but and like you watch TV and you do whatever, and like that is like the theme of our society. We are a greedy, selfish society. Not everybody, not all the time. I don't want to be painted like everybody just whatever, but like you have to be very careful to guard your mind not to fall into that mentality where you want to complain about everything. Anything that go wrong, because you want to be able to fit in. And that's what's one of the problems with human beings. They want to be able to like be in the crowd. So you start looking at what everybody else is doing, and you start trying to assimilate and start kind of acting so you can kind of fit in with everybody else, so you can relate to everybody else. Because people want to be able to relate. And then one of the things human beings relate on is like complaining. You know, being like having attitude. Like you gotta have attitude about something. Like that's just how people think. You know what I mean? And so, but you can easily change your mentality and be grateful for what you have.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Instead of like, so you have all these great things. You got like a nice, fresh, hot thing of fries, a nice drink that you like. You mean the burger was fresh. You know what I mean? Like you overlook all of that and be like, they put lettuce on my burger. I told them so and so's no lettuce. You see what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But if you think about that, like, yeah, you got all this good that you've been blessed with, but you focus only on the bad thing that happened to you, only on the negative thing, and it may not even be that big of a thing, but your focus on that only, solely. And that's what causes people to be bitter. It causes you to eat your way, and God can't use you like that. You know what I mean? And so, like I said, so once again, things go take a turn for the worse. He's doing well, and then all of a sudden, God bless you, my brother. He's doing well, then all of a sudden, Potiphar's wife come up and she wanna act up. You know, hey man, come over here, man. I got something for you. You know what I mean? Anyway, and you know, so she wanna lay with him. She wanna, you know, get to know him. She got a treat for him or whatever. You know, young man. And he says, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that not only against my master but against God. You know what I mean? She like, nah, come on, lay. She try to grab him. He runs. She grab a hold of his mantle. He leave it. She tell a lie. Hey man, he tried to lay with me. Look, I got his thing right here. It's proof. Obviously, the cat gonna be like, yo. Now it's crazy because once again, Joseph hasn't done anything wrong. Matter of fact, he did the right thing, and this situation is turning on him. He hasn't done anything but serve his master faithfully. But now, like anybody, a cat be like, yo, you tried to sleep with my wife. You tried to get with my woman. Like, that's a major problem. Like, cats don't take that kind of stuff lightly. But this is not a whole lot of reasoning you can do with a dude if you try to like run up in his house and like you off on business, you come back. And like a lot of times guys are weak for women. You know what I mean? And especially like pretty women. Like they heads get all twisted. You see that with Solomon. Like your head get all twisted all around, like you can't think straight. Cause you so enamored by how she looked that you ain't paying attention to like who she is as a person or whatever. Cause she may have, if she running around like that, then most likely she ain't, Joseph ain't the only person she's ever solicited to. It ain't like I'm faithful all these years and all of a sudden I'm like, Joseph, wow, please come. Like she was real casual with that. Like, yo, man, he gone. It's cool, man. Come on in. He gonna be gone for a while. Come on in, man. And, you know, it was too casual for it to be like that's the only time she ever did something like that. You know what I mean? She seemed to experience with these things. So, but he ain't thinking like that. He just thinking, oh man, she my woman. She pretty, whatever. And it's like, so he believed her. And it's like, this man you done trusted, or this youngster you don't trust it, you boot him out. You know what I mean? Like take him to the dungeon. But even in the dungeon, like I said, he could take that and be like, this is a second family that he's had, because his first family sold him out. Second family, you know what I mean, sell him out too. This man that you don't trust it, and you served him faithfully, he sell you and put you in jail. He could have been bitter about that. He could have been angry about that. Once again, it could have ruined his life. He didn't. But he's in jail. And fast forward, we're going to wrap this thing up. Fast forward, he in jail. Cat the baker and the butler in Pharaoh's house get put in jail for some stuff that they couldn't tell what was going on. He meet them, tell them what's going to happen with them as far as their vision or the dream that was had. And then he tell the guy, hey man, listen man, when you get out of here, remember me. It take him 2 or 3 years, and all that time he in jail. I mean, so I helped you. You got restored. You back in the palace, and I'm still in jail, in the dungeon with rats and all this kind of stuff, eating, you know, trash food. Because cats ain't getting lean cuisine, ain't getting no like steak and potatoes in the dungeon. That ain't high and roll. It don't work that way. You getting straight trash. You know, and so yeah, man, looking for that. You know, but in all of that, and we're gonna wrap it up. In all of that, Joseph never became bitter. He never looked at himself and complained about his circumstance. He never allowed those things to eat away at him and he become just a bitter soul. He always kept God in mind as far as what he needed to do in whatever situation that he was in, and God was always with him as a result. And so he becomes the man that we read about in the scriptures and we have admiration for and respect for. He could have easily been another individual that just got lost to bitterness. You know what I mean? Get caught up in vices, drinking, doing drugs, whatever, because he's trying to run away from the sorrow and the pain that he's experiencing in his life. That's how people become like alcoholics. Like, it's typically because they're trying to run from something. They're trying to drink away some sorrow or some pain that they experienced. You know what I mean? Typically. You know what I mean? But like, and Joseph is a prime candidate for it. Young man get thrown into a slave's life at a young age. Nobody really no kind of support system. You know what I mean? Like, he could have easily went to alcohol or whatever and got involved with any kind of vices to help him cope with the pain that he experienced. But the only thing he thought about was God. He never let it melt, or like I said, never let bitterness set in like that. And so we can learn a lot from Joseph. We're gonna wrap this up. That's a lesson we have to learn from Joseph, is to not allow the circumstances of life to cause our heart to turn dark and to become bitter. And we shouldn't focus so much on the negative in our lives, but focus on the fact that God can turn that negative into a positive. You know what I mean? A lot of times people complain and people get caught up into depression and sadness because they feel like the sadness that they experience is only they're going through it. You know what I mean? You start to feel alone and isolated when you're going through stuff, and you feel like nobody else understands how I feel, or nobody else understands where I'm coming from or what I'm going through. But like, the reality is that everybody goes through stuff. Amen. Like, everybody has sadness. Like, sadness is not exclusive to any. Everybody has tasted. You know what I mean? Some stuff people, like I said before, some stuff happen to people that people don't talk about. You know what I mean? Like, it's situations that have happened in life when you were young or whatever that is hush hush. You can't talk to nobody about it. It's like I say, it's dark family secrets, and I hear a lot of that a lot of times. It happens way too often, and you can't talk to nobody about it. Uncle so and so did X, Y, and Z, but nobody gonna talk about it. Everybody see, oh, Uncle so and so, he come in, he dance or whatever at the family reunion. Everybody like, it's one of time, but you know, and some other cats know, and people know Uncle so and so was doing stuff to people. And I don't want to I don't really want to get too heavy in that, but like, that kind of, people hold on to that kind of stuff, and it tear up your life. You know what I mean? And like, you can't talk about it because everybody said, you don't talk about Uncle so and so. You see what I'm saying? And easily Joseph could have been, and it caused people to like act out in so many terrible, self-destructive ways. And Joseph is a prime candidate for that, but he didn't. He didn't. He stayed faithful, and everything that he did, he thought about what God would have him to do. He had faith in God. He was thankful to God for everything that God had done for him in righteousness, and that God had looked out for him. He never complained about his circumstance. And so, and ultimately you see Joseph has a good quality of life. Overall, you would say Joseph has a great life. But it's only because of the way that Joseph has looked at his life and received his life in a way as far as like he don't allow himself to be bitter, that you would say, man, Joseph, if you looked at Joseph and read his story, you wouldn't think that his story, his backstory was that terrible. It was that devastating. Like, but, and if you met Joseph, you'd be like, oh man, he's second command. He had the greatest life in the world. But like, you sit down and talk to Joseph, you would see where he came from and you'd be amazed. Amen. I mean, and so, and in that he glorifies God. And so we have to take that same mentality. A lot of us come from the same situation. Like, you got a lot of stuff that happened to you, but people meet you now and be like, oh, man, your life is great. Like, it's perfect. Like, everything is wonderful. You know what I mean? But it's like, it's only because I've been faithful and because I've taught the lessons that God has blessed me and I've applied to my life. And like, things have been well with me because God has been worked well with me. And I'm thankful. I'm happy. I could be sad. I could be bitter. I could be whatever. But I'm thankful because God has brought me through all this stuff, through his word, his instructions, and his grace, you know. And so that's the mentality we should always make sure we renew in our minds day by day, is to be grateful. Not to get so caught up in the negative that happens in our lives, but look beyond that, understanding that like offenses must come. You know what I mean? Like you gotta go through stuff. You gotta be trouble. You can't always anticipate what it's gonna be, but know that God is still alive, and God gonna see you through as long as you maintain faith, and God will bring you out better on the other end as long as you stay faithful to Him and follow the instructions that He gives to you in whatever situation you find yourself in. So that's a lesson. We'll go ahead and wrap it up here. We're going to have a prayer and we'll be dismissed.